The talk of the F-16 and the MiG-29 has intensified since the appearance of the F-16 AOA cluster in the CDK files and the MiG-29 appearing in the 10th anniversary decal. Naturally, the question is which one should be added first. Today we're going to weigh the benefits of both the F-16 and the MiG-29 when added into War Thunder. We're going to focus on three areas, primarily weaponry, benefiting nations, and matchmaker. I'll also discuss possible strategies Gaijin might pursue in adding these aircraft. So let's start with the F-16. Of course, we're expecting to see the F-16A Block 5 or Block 10 first. Since Gaijin has a habit of introducing new missiles with slightly marginal upgrades to existing ones like the AIM-9H on the F-14A early, I bet this will receive the AIM-9N Sidewinder, which is an AIM-9J with improved seeker track rate that was originally known as the AIM-9J1. It can carry 4 of these missiles at best. Of course, these can also fire the AIM-9L, which would make it its all-aspect missile to allow it to be a viable fighter at 11.3. This is a good trade-off for the F-16 not having capabilities for Sparrows until the Block 15 ADF variant. Yeah, I'm aware that the full-scale development model being tested was allowed to fire Sparrows, but I'm not sure if the CW Illuminator made it past the FSD model, as radar missile capability were introduced in a 1980s upgrade program submitted to Congress. So to play on the safe side, I would just assume that the Block 5 and Block 10 had only Sidewinder capability. For ground attack, it could use the AGM-65B Mavericks, as 65Ds would be integrated onto F-16C variants. It could carry 3 Mark 82 500-pound bombs per wing, 2 1,000-pound Mark 83s per wing, or 1 Mark 84 2,000-pound bomb per wing. While it can carry paveways, the Block 5 and Block 10 cannot guide them as it lacks a targeting pod to guide them, so it's ruled out if they were added to War Thunder. Like most US aircraft, it uses the M61 Vulcan with 511 rounds, which is considerable for a lightweight dogfighter. When it comes to nations that can receive the F-16, it's divided into two possibilities. US and Israel getting the Block 5 and Block 10 first, or Israel getting it first and the US and Italy getting the ADF variant in a later upgrade like the F5 starting out in China. Speaking of China, the F-16A Block 20 will probably take a longer time as it uses an F-16A airframe, with Block 50 F-16C avionics allowing it to use AMRAAMs and later Sparrows like the AIM-9M. The Taiwan line of the Chinese sector should get the FCK-1 Qingkuo and Xiangsheng variants before getting the F-16A Block 20 and the Mirage 2000-5. In my opinion, it's high time for Israel to get a new plane as it has remained the same since its addition for about a year, and the F-16A Block 5 or Block 10 is the perfect choice as it doesn't demand the addition of the Python 3 missiles which are already in-game as the PL-8. But anyways, I digress. It gives Israel an alternative to the Kefir but also allows it to enter the all-aspect meta. The F-16 is a light and agile fighter. The F-16 can probably run circles around most aircraft at top tier, which would make it an amazing dogfighter. However, in the case of the Block 10 and Block 5 variants, it's basically all that it has going for it. Not having radar missiles would hamper it a lot against something like the F-14 and the Mirage 2000C. In terms of the current top-tier meta, the F-16 Block 5 and Block 10 would probably not disturb it, as it's mostly just a very agile F-104S ASA. Another problem it will come to terms with is its fuel capacity without drop tanks. So for the F-16 to be viable in War Thunder, not only it needs drop tanks to be added, but the F-16 also has to sacrifice some of its agility for fuel capacity. Although hopefully the AIM-9L would compensate for that small trade-off. If I were Gaijin, I would probably give the F-16A Block 5 for Israel as the first ever F-16 in-game before the MiG-29 and give it the rare Imperial Iranian Air Force livery as purchasable, as some of the F-16s intended for Iran and painted with IIAF paint schemes were diverted to Israel after the Iranian Revolution. At the same time, I would give US and Italy the F-16A Block 15 ADF. As much as I don't want to pamper the US as it already received the F-14A early, it would be criminal to pull an F-5 again and give other nations F-16s and have US sit this one out. Italy needs a new top-tier fighter and I don't want it to be the AV-8B just yet. While the AV-8B fills the Italian requirement for top-tier cast while the AMX is being sorted out, The F-16A Block 15 ADF is also welcome if it's not going to receive the Tornado just yet. China, as I've said, will have to wait it out until AMRAAMs drop because the Block 20 is a bit overkill at the moment. Now let's move on to the MiG-29. Most likely, we're gonna expect the MiG-29A variant without R-73s just yet. Or perhaps, maybe with R-73s. Either way, it has to have the R-27 because R-60Ms simply no longer cut it for 11.3. It's way too easy to flare, and I believe the R-27T IR variant would make a better IR missile as it's an improvement over the R-24. The R-27R can also be useful, but if Gaijin still self-destroys RH missiles when the radar breaks lock, it would sort of be useless when it's so easy to break radar lock at the moment, considering the MiG-29 only has 2 R-27s. It utilizes the Gish 30-1 30mm gun with 150 rounds. For strike capability, the basic MiG-29A lacks guided ordnance, only utilizing Fab 500 and its HE and Napalm variants, along with S5, S8, and S24 rockets. For nations that can receive it, there's really only two, USSR and Germany, both of the same variant and without the R-73s, or I don't know, if they decide to give it both R-73s and high off-bore sight capability. Either way, they're gonna get pretty much the same variant, and the German one would be a copy-paste until at least the MiG-29G, which could receive the R-73 if it hasn't acquired it yet, along with the R-27ER and R-27ET, the extended range R-27s. Like the F-16, the MiG-29 is a dogfighter. While not super maneuverable, as some might wrongly declare it to be, the MiG-29 is still more agile than its contemporaries in the 11.3 matchmaker. However, with only 2 R-27s, it's going to struggle in missile combat against F-14s and some F-4 Phantoms, but it wouldn't be a problem as long as it can get within dogfight range against them, like what we do with the J-7, and I think the Mirage 2000C has done pretty well enough without more than 2 SAR-H missiles, so it's alright. The 150 round gun shouldn't be a problem as MiG-19s have done more with less ammo. It will prove quite useless in ground RB though, having only rudimentary ordnance until the arrival of the MiG-29 SM, which allows it to fire KH-29Ts and KH-31 missiles, along with the CAB-500KR TV-guided bombs and the CAB-500L laser-guided bombs with the use of a guidance pod. In the best case scenario, the MiG-29 should be added along with the F-16As. However, if that's not possible, the MiG-29 can probably wait until the F-16A Block 15 ADF has been added as it is its closest peer. F-16A Block 5 or Block 10 would simply not stand up to the range of the R-27T if only it had AIM-9Ls. So, to conclude, I believe that the F-16 should be added first because it benefits nations like Italy and Israel that need a new top-tier jet for so long. The F-16 uses equipment that are already in-game which would not stir up the meta aside from its agility and dogfight capability. The MiG-29 will only benefit two nations, USSR and Germany. And Germany doesn't really need another top-tier fighter considering the Tornado will be slated for it, and it still has the MiG-23 MLA, which is pretty good. USSR already has more than enough top tiers to weather the F-16s if ever they're added. So what do you think? Which side do you fall on, the F-16 or the MiG-29? I'd like you to share your thoughts below, and I thank you again for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. This is the Dr. MD, Godspeed.